Howdy folks, it's Age of the Hunting Gear Guy. This is the Savage 334, and it is almost the same price, depending if you get a sale or not, as the Savage Axis 1 or 2. It doesn't, there's not really that much difference. So the 2 has an Accu trigger on it. The 1 you can put a really light trigger on it. So why don't we take a closer look at these two rifles and see which one's better. So the big difference between these two rifles is the bolt. The bolt on the Savage Axis is a 90-degree throw, so you can see it's quite close to the stock there where the arm is. The nub of it's got a little bit of clearance, and then when you pull it up, it is really tight to that scope. Basically just the ball clears the scope, and you're skinning your thumb against the scope on the way back. Compare that to the Savage 334, where it has that 60-degree bolt throw, and you can see there the bolt, the entire thing is quite far from the stock, and it's completely different. There's so much more room there. I can fit my whole fist around that thing, and I still have room even though I've got a fairly low mounted scope here. So that's the big difference between the two of them, and it's one of the big differences, reasons why the 334 is better. I think it's better. First, that 60-degree bolt throw is better. Second, it's just smoother. The bolt on the 334 is smoother than the Axis. Whereas if I pull this one back, it just kind of like, it's loose and rattling in there, whereas the 334 is smooth and just a little bit tighter. So this one's got quite a bit of side-to-side movement. That's why it can fall back there, whereas on the 334, it's got a lot less movement back and forth. I'm not going to get a dial indicator out there. Trust me, it's a lot less. The 334 has a heavier barrel. So you can see the 334. This one's in 308. You can see their barrel there. And you compare that to this Savage Axis over here is in 6.5 Creedmoor, and it has a much lighter barrel on it. And actually, as an advantage to the Axis, it is way, way lighter. This one, without the scope on it and with an empty magazine still in it, I weigh it at 6.44 pounds. So 6.5 pounds, just under 6.5 pounds on this thing. Whereas the 334 with, again, no scope on it, 7.4 pounds. So it's a pound heavier than that Axis. There's a little bit in the barrel, and when you take the action out of the stock, you can see the weight there as well. And I suspect that the stock itself is also heavier because it is quite a bit stiffer than the Axis stock. That's actually a complaint I kind of have over the Axis. Just the stock moves quite a bit. You can very, very easily move it around in the barrel channel there. There's just really not much to it. It's a very trim, lightweight stock. But because it's lightweight, it's also very flexible. One other difference, the Savage Axis comes with just a two-piece bases, so you run your 2 rings. You need a really long scope to fit this thing. This is just the package scope that it comes with. Whereas the 334 comes with a Picatinny rail, so you've got quite a bit more region to move your scope around. So you've got, this would fit a shorter scope. This would fit a red dot or a prism or something like that if you wanted to. And the other thing that the 334 does a lot better with the stock is this comb is quite a bit higher. So if I put my face down here, I just need to pull it up just a little bit to get onto that scope there. So that would need just a very little cheek material there to build up. Whereas on the Axis, look how low that thing is. If I put my face on this, I am looking through the barrel. Like I can pull this this bolt out here, presumably if I have it on fire, and I can actually get it out of there. And I can, oh, I can't quite look through the barrel. I lied. Can't quite look through it, but I'm looking right about there with my head hard down on this rifle. And not so much with that with the 334. One other difference, trying to get this bolt in and out on an Axis is kind of a dance because you got to push up, pull the trigger, and pull this thing down here, and then that finally lets you take that bolt out. Whereas on the 334, couldn't be simpler. You pull the bolt back, bolt release button right there. If I press that, this bolt's gonna follow me. There we go. And the bolt's out. So super easy to take that bolt out of the 334. To put it back in, I just press that bolt release button and fire it in there, and away she goes. One other difference between the two rifles, the safety. So the Savage Axis, this is an Axis one, just has a 2-position safety. There it's on safe, can't fire. There it's off safe, I can fire. On safe, I can still run the bolt and load it. I prefer the location of this safety. I can be up on game and I can pop that safety off or on just before my shot. Very easy to do. On the 334, the safety is on the right-hand side. It's a 3-position safety, and I need to pull that back. Now, 3-position means that it locks the bolt on it all the way back. I like that feature. I wish that Axis had that feature, but it doesn't. And middle allows me to run the bolt if I need to, and then fully forward is ready to fire. One disadvantage of the 334, teeny tiny little 3-round mag, and it's not even flush fitting. Whereas on the Axis, I have a flush fitting magazine, and it's 4 rounds. So it holds 1 more round, and it fits in there flush. Now I don't really like how they go in. You kind of have to get the back part in first and then the front. It is possible for these Savage Axis magazines to get that front in and not the back. This will not feed rounds. That back needs to be in there in order for this thing to work. You can't really fuck it up like that with the 334. If you've got this thing up and you pop it in, it's in. There's no such thing as like just getting the front in. If the front in's, the back's in as well. A little bit less of a big deal, but on the 334, there's not really a lot of give to this butt pad on here. Whereas on the Axis, it has a lot squishier of a butt pad. And you can see even with this one is made so that you can go back or forth with it. So you can get a youth length to it and then add the extension in there and go for an adult. Both rifles have steel sling swivels, so that's fine. Both of them have kind of adjustable triggers. They're both covered in wax from the factory, so you can't really do too much adjustment to them. Again, this is the Savage Axis 1, so it doesn't have the AccuTrigger. But, and it's a big but, M Carbo sells a spring kit for the Axis 1, and it is criminal how light it makes that trigger pull, and it is a single stage trigger pull, so very nice and light. And because of how easy it is to get to that safety, no problem to get to it. Whereas on the 334, you could still modify the trigger yourself, but it is a 2-stage trigger pull, and it's heavier than the Axis. That I don't have any factory Axises to compare to here, but I'll put in the annotations what I measured my first Axis out to. This one is disgusting. This one's right around 5.5 pounds, and it's a little bit heavy for a hunting rifle. Okay, that was a lot. As a light hunting rifle, pure hunting rifle, the Axis is still a great value. Right now, like at this very second, locally, I can get these for cheaper than the 334, quite a bit cheaper. So I would say that this is still a better deal at $100 cheaper. But at the same price, oh, that gets harder. I think the 334 is better at the same price. The cheek, the bolts, the whole package here is just a better gun than the Savage Axis. So if you find both of these rifles at the same price point, I would, even though it's heavier, I would still go with the 334. Just a more solid rifle. It's just got better features in it, and I just really like a real short action. That Savage Axis is in 6.5 Creedmoor. It does not have a nice short, short throw to it, but then also the travel back and forth on it is longer than it needs to be, because Savage, like many other manufacturers, use one action length for everything. So regardless whether you get a 308 or 30-06, you get one action length long, and makes it cheaper to manufacture, but at the same time, it also makes for a longer run on this thing versus the nicer bolt throw on the 334. Oh, it's just much nicer. It's shorter, it's faster, it's nicer. Long story short, if the price is the same, get the 334. Thanks for watching.